These are things we're very concerned about, and faculty of color all have very similar worries, and we want to make sure that there is true pay equality. This is our business, this is our money, and we want to make sure it's being spent justly.
Let's talk about why you chose a occupation and how that occupation came to be.
So that goes right along with what we were saying earlier, that, you know, with the Coca-Cola thing, this was very recent. We'd taken it through the proper channels. I mean, we'd gotten the ban before in the, you know, through the Senate, and at this point, we realized that there was a real failure. There was a breakdown, a disjunct between what the students were wanting and what the faculty and the administration was wanting and what was being done. And so we realized, you know, we'd sent letters, we'd asked for at least a recognition. I mean, if NYU, and they still haven't come out and said no to each one of those demands, because we want to hear from their mouths that they don't care about socially responsible investing. I want to hear them say that that they don't care about budget disclosure to make sure that there is pay equality.
So they've refused to address the actual content of your demands.
They pretend as if the demands didn't even exist.
At this point, it's just a disciplinary situation.
Yeah, they look at it
broke
as
the rules, now we're going to punish you.
And it's not even treated as if it were a protest, as if we were trying to engage in dialogue. They're treating it as if we'd occupied a space out of like some terrorist whim for nothing. For a party. Which, you know, we were making a statement. We were up there trying to say something. And
this was at the end, you see what you were saying earlier, and was I think important for the viewers to understand that this occupation didn't spring out of nothing.
No, this has been 2 years in the making.
And you were constantly trying to go through the process.
Yeah,
yes.
And, you know,
were rejected at every turn. We have another call. Give it a shot.
Okay.
You're on. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I was at the protest, and I got to tell you that and I don't know if you noticed me, I was wearing a pair of chaps that exposed my buttocks. Anyway, I believe in
Sorry
your
to miss that.
And so does my friend, and so do many people in my community. And my question is pretty much, I'd like to ask Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, does he trim his pubic hair? Because I'd love to go down on it. And also, is that a big...
Well, that was cool. That was quite a compliment.
Hanging in there.
Actually, a compliment. That's an interesting comedic break. Some television shows have commercial breaks. We have comedic breaks with our callers. Thank you for that. But getting back to the serious issues. So this was at the end of a long period. Yes. It wasn't just springing from, and you had a lot more. One of the folks we were just talking about said that on the news, I didn't hear this, but on the AM commercial news over and over again, they focused on maybe one or two of the demands that were extremely controversial, ignoring the fact that you had 30 demands.
Yeah. Right? 13 actually.
13, okay.
So
I'm sure I might have heard 13 and thought it was 30.
If it wasn't the naked girls, it was Gaza.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I think that is a really important. One of the reasons that we chose occupation as our specific direct action tactic, it was clear that the traditional channels were breaking down. There was no communication. It wasn't going to work. We decided that we needed to take a direct action and make them recognize us and make them hear that we are students with something to say and that we aren't going to be silenced. We chose an occupation for many reasons, strategical, but also that there have been, in the past, since the siege on Gaza began, there have been over 30 occupations in the United Kingdom and several in the United States demanding justice and humanitarian aid for Gaza. And we absolutely wanted to be a part of that and to stand in solidarity with the people of Gaza and to let them know that we hear your voices and that we feel your pain and that we are with you.
All right. That's so what are the other 12 demands? Run through them for us. You got them all down?
Absolutely.
So we got the budget disclosure, and both the budget and the endowment. We want to make BOPE's library open to the public.
I like that.
That's a great idea.
One of the interesting things about that demand, it was one that a lot of people had some questions about. When BOPE's library was first constructed, it was constructed where houses were. It was, people were bought out of their houses were torn down, and we set up this elite library, which the community then didn't have access to. Part of this campaign is about making education accessible and affordable, and not a privilege of the elite, but rather a right for the many, and making
And that's
public
not
access to
unheard of
books?
on university
Absolutely not.
campuses. My dad lives in a town with a university, and their library is open to everyone in the community, and he regularly uses that
Absolutely.
library.
And parts of our library are open. The Tamament Library, which is the labor library, is open to the public.
Sure, I've used that many times.
Exactly.
Many people use that as a way to get
Get in.
into
That's
rest
the
of
best.
library.
The best way
Exactly.
to get into the library.
I know. But it's still very, you shouldn't have to sneak around.
Exactly.
You know, and to put people through that is not fair.
And especially when such a great resource is
Yeah.
there for the public to be
Yeah.
used.
How could you deny someone books?
Some of the others we wanted 13 scholarships for students who've been affected by the war in Gaza. And the number 13 was a very specific number we chose. It's a symbolic number to show for the over 1,300 people who've been killed so far during this recent war.
One for every 300 people.
One for every 100 person.
Wow.
Now, how is your organization organized within itself? You said there's 24 groups that came together. Is there a hierarchy? Are there elected officials?
Not at all.
Non-hierarchical.
All of our decisions are made in non-hierarchical meetings by consensus. So what we do is we have a consensus process. It's kind of complicated. I won't go through all the details of it right here, but it's a
Hand
great
signals.
process. There are hand signals. I definitely recommend using it in your organizing. It creates a great group dynamic of people who really feel like they're working together, and it makes sure that everyone's voice gets heard. Anyone has the power to block a decision we make, and if someone doesn't feel comfortable with our decisions, we won't go through with that decision. So that's very important to us. We don't have any hierarchy of presidents or vice presidents or anything. Different people facilitate each meeting. We have different people taking stack to make sure that everyone stays involved and that this really is a campaign coming from the students and that we're really creating this together.
You're listening to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul D'Arienzo with Miss Joan Marie Musi. Our guests, Maria Lewis and Drew Phillips, were suspended because of their involvement in the recent protests at New York University, the occupation of the Kimmel Student Center. And we're asking them about why they did that and what led to it and some of the repercussions because of the actions that they took. And I see we have a call, and we'll take an opportunity to give this folk an opportunity. And you're there. Hello, you're with us?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh, no,
Caller?
gave up.
You gave up the ghost. Are you there? Hello?
Why don't we take this time
Oh,
to
I
give
see.
out
I'm
your
sorry.
website?
Yeah, right
and
now
if
it's
people
gonna
want
be-
more information.
If you want more information about our campaign, go to www.
Hold on a second.
Sorry, go to www.takebacknyu.com. It'll show you how you can get involved, how you can support us, how you can
We'll go to the
criticize
history
us
of what's
And we'll give you
happened.
the update on what's going
on
on.
what's happening.